Hello, everybody. How you doing? Well, that's good. Big Natty Grandman here with you for another segment of From the Wheelchair with Big Natty Graham. Right off the bat, I want to thank our sponsors, Timmy Fitz's Crest Tavern down there in Wildwood Crest, open year round now. I get it. Nobody's open at the moment, but more on that later. By the way, I have a lot of comments to make about the coronavirus, but I decided tonight to close with them because I cannot tell you how many people wrote me today saying, can't wait till you're on tonight, Big Daddy, so I can get a break from the coverage. So that's what I decided to do, which is listen up. My beautiful daughter, Ava, and him is leaving. Uh, his name is Bill Matz. You might know him if you ever listen to my overnight show. That's how I'm going to continue to refer to him as. Yeah, we do. We love Bill, even though he's got a porn mustache. Anyway, here we go. Timmy Fitz's Crest Tavern, thank you so much. Armin Cadillac, thank you so much. My dentist, Dr. Craig Don, over there in Cherry Hill. Again, thank you so much. Wildfire Radio, who helps us put all this together. Me and Joe Conklin had a Two Funny Philly Guys show booked at the Colonial in Phoenixville the last Saturday in April. It has been pushed to Saturday, June 20th. And just let's hope the June 20th date comes off. But that's for those of you holding tickets, for those of you still interested in getting tickets, that'll be June 20th. All right. What else do I want to do? All right. It says here, it is March 18th, 2020. Segment 6 of From the Wheelchair with Big Natty Grammar. I think I just made a mistake. I think this might even be our 7th program since I started doing this podcast. And why am I doing this podcast? Obviously, I can't wait till I get back on 94 WIP, and they're willing to set up a microphone in my house for me to be able to do this, but I'm just not ready. I'm not ready to do 20 hours a week. I'm just not. And it's not because my wife doesn't want me to do it or my doctor doesn't want me to do it. I know that I am just not ready to do it yet. So these little hours a week, they're like exercise for me. Pretty soon I might be doing a couple a week. We shall see. Let's get on with the show. Before we get to the 10 index cards, I always like to recap what went down last week. We did a salute to Al Pacino. I went through all the movies that Al Pacino's ever made. I mean, I would skip the ones that were obviously really bad, not worth bringing up, latter part of his career. That's almost all of them. But I forgot Scent of a Woman, which is the movie he wins his Oscar for. I don't like it. Maybe that's why I just didn't mention it. But I want to get that out of the way for all you folks to say, where was that movie? I do have to mention this at the start of the show. I usually talk a pretty fair amount of Sixers in this podcast. And obviously, there's been no Sixer games for me to discuss. However, my wife actually shouted in this comment from the other room. Like I'm in one room, she's in another. You know what that's like if you've ever been married. And apparently, somebody posted, if we all knew what date this coronavirus was going to wipe the world out, I would wish that even if it was just for one day before that date, the Sixers fired Brett Brown, I would die a happy man. And that's funny. That's not me. I can't take credit for that. I don't even know who to give credit for. It was like a post, a comment somewhere. I would die a happy man. My wife yelled that out to me since I've become the guy, the Brett Brown guy. All right, here we go. Since I'm closing with coronavirus tonight, let's start with a joke. Okay, I always end the show with a joke. Tonight, I will kick off the show with a joke. Man goes to the doctor. The doctor goes, "Look, I don't have good news for you. You got like 6 months to live." And the guy goes, "Wow, man, 6 months. You got any advice, doc?" And the doctor goes, "As a matter of fact, I do. You should marry a Jewish woman from Cherry Hill." And the guy goes, "That's your advice? I got 6 months to live? And that's your advice? Marry a Jewish woman from Cherry Hill." And the doctor goes, "It'll be the longest 6 months of your life." I love that joke. I once did I guess it's about a year and a half or so ago now. Conklin was throwing these roasts for a while. Joseph Conklin was throwing these roasts. And one of them was a roast of Lenny Dykstra and Mitch Williams. Joe thinks the entire thing was a disaster. And hey, he's running it. He's got every right to think what he wants. I thought it was fantastic. It was completely out of control because of Dykstra, really. I mean, completely out of control. And to me, maybe it was a mess that night while it was going on, but I look back on it with great fondness and glad that I was there. It was it was just terrific. But anyway, Mark Farzetta, well, I guess he's our competitor now at WIP. Mark Farzetta was just stood to the podium. He was the roaster that was going on before me. I was next to last, all right? And I'm sitting there, and the whole place I don't want to get too long with this, but there was like, I don't know, 1,000 people in there, and the whole place just lost control, and they were chanting stuff and whatnot. And I'm telling Mark Farzetta just to get off, whispering, just get off, sit down, so he did. And I'm trying to get Conklin's attention on the other side of the table there, saying, "Joe, just end this thing." What's he do? He gets up there and he introduces me with all this mayhem going on. So I stepped up to the mic and I went, "A man goes to a doctor." Big buzz still going on in the room. Louder now. "A man goes to a doctor." Now they're starting to wonder, what is this nutcase doing? Third time. "A man goes to a doctor." Now I really have all the attention in the room. And then I told that joke, and it killed, and I slammed the mic down and said good night. That's it. I told one joke. It was the best moment of the night. Hi, by the way, have you noticed my green index cards tonight? It is St. Patrick's Week. Wow, what a bummer. It's depending on who you talk to, it's either the number one drinking day for bars or number two. Some people think the Wednesday before Thanksgiving has now moved into number one. But I have some people who own bars who tell me, not yet. It's way up there. But not. The reason this guy gave me is because the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, a lot of women who got to cook don't participate in going out. Where St. Patrick's Day, there's no big meal after St. Patrick's Day. There's no meal on St. Patrick's Day. The Irish are too busy drinking. They don't need no big meal. So I can see where maybe it is St. Patrick's Day. I was once in St. Patrick's Day in North Carolina, me and my wife. Long story on why we were in North Carolina on St. Patrick's Day, but we were. Do you know there was no St. Patrick's Day in North Carolina? Didn't mean anything. Nothing. Zero. And that's what this one feels like. It's so sad what's going on. I hope they'll get this all back together. All right, so I started thinking about who are the greatest athletes of all time whose last name begins with a Mick or a Mac. The greatest Mix and Max. And you know what? I posted it at Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook at Big Daddy Graham. My Twitter handle is at Big Daddy Graham as well. By the way, you can tweet this show throughout it. And there weren't an overwhelming amount of Mix and Max. Very bizarre. Football. Both were Eagles related. Tommy McDonald and Donovan McNabb. Although I don't think anybody thinks he's Irish. And I doubt if anybody thinks Bob McAdoo, who was a great, great player in the NBA, led the league in scoring 3 years in a row, actually might have finished his career with the Sixers. That's it. Except for these two, who are, you tell me, who's had the better career? Rory McIlroy or John McEnroe? That's really a tough call. Now, my buddy Dave's here tonight. McIlroy's won, how many majors has he won? Has he won multiple majors? So he's won multiple majors. McEnroe won multiple majors. McEnroe's probably at this point has won more majors than McIlroy. But he's still young and he's still playing. But I just found it odd that it came down to those two guys. So again, if I'm missing somebody, by all means, let me know. But you would have think there would have been more M's in that, just a little bit more, but there were not. All right, that's one index card down. Let's go to number 2, movies. All right, let's go to movies. I hate when I see a movie that I really dug, and yet I don't know how to recommend it or not, or don't know if I even should recommend it. All I can tell you is I've watched it twice now. I got it out of my library. It's a movie called Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler. Now, it's not a comedy. And when I say it's not a comedy, it's not a comedy at all in any way. Adam Sandler plays a drug addict, kind of gambling addict, no doubt. And he's in the jewelry business. And it's just like an hour into the movie. I turned to my wife. We were watching it at home. I'm going, when's the movie starting? When I realized that this was the movie. It was like 2 hours or a couple days, whatever, in the day of this character that Adam Sandler was playing. Once you get used to that's what this was, it was insane. With an insane ending, I really thought it was wild. Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler, is directed by these brothers, the Southey brothers. And I even watched the other movie that they made. Well, of course, the title's escaping me, but look it up on imdb.com. Again, Uncut Gems, starring Adam Sandler. All right? I think it was the movie he was hoping to win an Oscar for. You know, like everybody's used to him as, in a comedic role. And often guys like that want to let the world know that they can do real movies, except this might have been too much. This was because he didn't even get nominated, but he is really great in it. Uncut gems. All right. Now, William H. Macy is turning 70 this week. Actually, I think it might have even been yesterday or the day before. And I thought I would salute William H. Macy. It's easy to salute Al Pacino. It's easy to salute Quentin Tarantino, which we've done the last couple of weeks. Cats like William H. Macy don't seem to get these kind of salutes because they're character actors. They're never going to be the guy getting the girl, the action hero. That's William H. Macy. He's not that guy, but I love him. And I realized how long I have loved him. All right. Now, even though I saw William H. Macy, I imagine in many movies before Fargo, it all really, for me, starts with Fargo, which is 1986. That's 34 years ago. Right. So I've been a fan and watching the work of William H. Macy for 34 years. And he's turning 70, and he's bigger than he's ever been because of the Shameless show. And at no point when you watch him in Shameless do you feel like you're watching a performance of a man who's 70. Granted, he's a flat-out derelict, but he kind of looks like a derelict in his 50s. Anyway, he's so good in Fargo. I mean, he's just so amazing in Fargo as this total creep who thought he'd kidnap his wife and get the ransom money off her father and get out of this financial bind that he's in because he was ripping off his car dealership. He's so uncomfortable that sometimes I zoom through his scenes. He's that great. Boy, what a way to recommend an actor. I'm zooming through his scenes. But that's how good he is. By the way, I wish the television show would come back. Fargo. All right, so that's 1986. He's got a little role in Air Force One. He's got a big role in Boogie Nights. Kind of a pathetic role. He seems to play a lot of pathetic guys. But I did not like Boogie Night. He's in Wag the Dog. If you ever get a chance to see Wag the Dog, it's De Niro. It's a really, really good flick. Pleasantville. I mean, he's in a lot of really good movies. He's in that remake of Psycho. I'm the one who bought a ticket and saw the remake of Psycho. It was, I kind of dug it, to tell you the truth. Mystery Men, fun flick. That's taking us up to 99. Again, wow, what's with this show? A movie, I wouldn't make my worst enemy watch a movie called Magnolia. It is that depressing. And so is William H. Macy in it. I'm only bringing up Magnolia because get ready for this. It's the greatest piece of acting you will ever see out of Tom Cruise. Now, I like Tom Cruise. I like a lot of Tom Cruise movies. I do. But he pretty much plays Tom Cruise. If you are a mammoth Tom Cruise fan, watch Magnolia. Get your hands on Magnolia. Watch it. His performance in Magnolia, I didn't even know he had it in him. Tell you the truth, doesn't seem like I can remember seeing him do it again. State and Maine, what's to say about Jurassic Park 3? One of the greatest movies ever made. Well, I love when how do you make like real comments on Jurassic Park 3? And I'm not even a fan of Jurassic Park. Here we go. The closest he gets to actually having a leading role apparently, I don't know if they made this up or not, coolers are people who bring bad luck to, like, what do you call that game where you throw the dice? Huh? Craps, in Vegas, or somebody's winning a lot of money at a card table. They would send the cooler over the table. His mere presence brings bad luck. And that's who William H. Macy plays, the cooler. Now, the unbelievable part of it is he gets to land Maria Bello in the movie. Nah, William H. Macy is not getting Maria Bello. Seabiscuit, boy, does he work. Thank You for Smoking. Great flick. Love Thank You for Smoking. Check it out. Bobby. Again, I think I'm the only one ever saw Bobby. It's a day in the life of the hotel that Robert Kennedy got shot in. It takes you right up and a little bit after Bobby Kennedy gets shot. Really good. Good flick. Wild Hogs. Come on. Wild Hogs. I want to be in the next Wild Hogs. What else we got here? Salute to William H. Macy on the Big Daddy Graham show from the wheelchair. The Lincoln Lawyer? All right, not a bad flick. Boy, I'm not, for a guy who I love a lot, I'm scrolling through movie after movie. William H. Macy's in Room? Oh, yeah, he is. Wow, Room. Great, great movie that, again, I hope I never see again. Happy 70th birthday to William H. Macy. Let's move on to card number. I told the joke. We haven't made a great deal of progress in this. Oh, I just screwed everything up here. All right, hold on. I told the joke. I did the movies. All right, Eagles. All right, still little Eagles here. Malcolm Jenkins got released today, and he's not the player that he once was. I get all that. But wow, I got to tell you that years from now, when I look back on Super Bowl 52 and think of that Eagles team, Malcolm Jenkins just might be the first guy I think of. Never missed a snap. Was the, no doubt, leader of that team. I mean, he was. Now, I know you got that whole Nick Foles story and all that, but I don't know if you missed the Foles is with another team now. I think he went to the Bears today. God, I loved Malcolm Jenkins. I really did. I was at a charity event once, getting some food at the buffet line, and Malcolm Jenkins was right in front of me doing the same thing, like putting food on his plate. And I went, Malcolm, I see you're busy. I work for the station that carries your games. My name's Big Daddy Graham. Just want to let you know I'm a huge fan. And well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's it. That's my one meeting with Malcolm Jenkins. But I was saddened. And I get it. It's a business and all that, and all players come and go eventually. But I was a big fan of Malcolm Jenkins. I always thought he seemed to be on the right side of the issues. And he was never shy about speaking up about issues. Generally speaking, I think he was usually on the right side. And the thing with Malcolm was he kind of knew he could make such statements because he was a lunch pail guy. He showed up every day, played every snap. You know how insane that is? To play every snap? Going to miss you big time, Malcolm Jenkins. I really am. And good luck to you. All right? Seriously. Good luck to you. All right. I'm going to rearrange these cards because talking about Malcolm Jenkins. All right, we'll just go right into this. I had last week's show. I did a whole thing about when I opened for Smokey Robinson and got to meet Smokey Robinson and talked to him for like 20 minutes. And I got a lot of response to that. And to tell you the truth, when I used to do that on WIP, people always kind of got off on these stories because that's what I made them, stories. So it wouldn't look like I was name dropping. You walk a fine line when you name drop. I bet you even the people that I know of that annoy me with their name dropping, maybe they don't even think they are name dropping. I don't know. But I'm about to name drop because I'm going to do a little segment each week on famous people that I have met. As long as I feel I can bring an interesting story to it. Dick Vermeil. And now here's the deal with Dick Vermeil. When I used to work up the dial, 12:10 a.m., I think we interviewed Dick Vermeil 10 times. More than 10 times in the year and a half that I was there. Almost always on the phone, one time live. And he was an easy guy to talk to. My God, you fed him a question and he just kept going and going and going. All right. But that's a far cry from me being paralyzed and cooped up at McGee Rehab for a couple months. And I'm sitting there in my wheelchair in the room. I'm out of bed in the wheelchair next to the bed, McGee Rehab. And in walks Dick Vermeil. It's a real, like, kind of out of body experience. It's like if I'm in my kitchen right now, if Dick Vermeil just cut through, got a glass of water, and cut back out, you would go, was that Dick Vermeil? There he was. He was there. They have very tight kind of, they ask you to do a favor. Unless you talk to the person, they might not want people to know they are in McGee Rehab. But you all know this person that Dick Vermeil was visiting in McGee Rehab when a nurse, whatever. Dick Vermeil finds out I'm also in McGee and right down the hall. And tell me how nice was this? I mean, I know him. He knows me. Next thing you know, he walks in my room just to tell me to hang in there. You know, things are going to get better. And it really, like, meant a lot to me. It really did. Like, there's people like, oh, my buddy Dave's here tonight watching the show. Dave tells me things are going to get better. Yeah, okay. But Dick Vermeil, right? Dave's laughing because he knows I'm right. If I told Dave things are going to, but a Dick Vermeil, it's like, well, yes, they are, coach. You know? And he gave me a little kind of like Dick Vermeil thing. But before he split, I told him, and this is a great story. I told Dick Vermeil this story. I got hired to MC this big sports banquet down at the Hyatt on the riverfront. 600 people. Not tuxedos, but well-dressed, the whole room. And when I get hired to do a big event like that, I like to get there early to make sure the microphones work and the lights, the podium, everything's in the right spot, because I've gotten burnt on a couple of times by not doing that. So I do get there earlier. I cut through the crowd and I open the banquet door and it's totally empty. Huge room with round tables and chairs on it. I mean, huge. Now I'm already aware of who's going to be speaking that night, and I know the whole night's going to end with Dick Vermeil getting this big award. I cut through the crowd, talked to a couple guys in the banquet room, completely empty except for waiters and servers and whatnot, putting silverware on tables. I'm telling you, it's a long walk through all these tables until I get up to the podium at the main table. And guess who's there? Dick Vermeil. He's sitting down next to the podium, writing notes down. And I said, "Hey, Mr. Vermeil." Later on, somebody said, "You don't call him Mr. Vermeil, you call him Coach Vermeil." I said, "Mr. Vermeil, you're aware this thing's not starting like the 8 o'clock because it's like 20 to 7." Guess what he says to me? "Well, these people were nice enough to give me this award. I want to make sure I give them a good speech." I mean, I've done so many sports banquets over my lifetime that lots of times people that are getting awards kind of show up late or they get the award and immediately split, you know. And trust me, none of these people are household names like Dick Vermeil is. I mean, they know who Dick Vermeil is in every home in the United States from all his years of college football, Super Bowl winning, blah, blah, blah. And here's Dick Vermeil. Well, I want to make sure I give these people a good speech. So I told Dick Vermeil, that was the one time I met him, and I told him that story. And he went, "Well, you hang in there, son." I guess that's just how coaches talk, but it was a thrill. I don't know how else to put it. It really was a thrill. Heavy Kevy. Heavy Kevy died last week. First of all, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this all up on my Facebook and whatnot. Heavy Kevy was a 2-time Wing Bowl champion. All right. I post things throughout the day. Sometimes things that I post, I get a little bummed out when I get very little response to it. But then sometimes you post stuff. For example, just found out Wing Bowl champ Heavy Kevy, Kevin O'Donnell was his real name, passed. He was a really nice guy who worked in my area bank for a bit. That's what he did for a living, was work for a chain of banks in New Jersey. Rest in peace, all right? So I post that. Between Facebook and Twitter, 80 comments, 80 like that, from people. "Oh, I met Heavy Kevy here. Oh, went to school with Heavy Kevy. I met Heavy Kevy a couple of years ago." He was just the nicest guy. But what I really liked about getting those amount of comments was he became famous for Wing Bowl. And Wing Bowl throughout the years sometimes came under fire. There was a bunch of slobs eating wings with chicks taking their tops off and all that. I always said it was a great Philadelphia event. It really was. It wasn't just that, and it wasn't even all that. Most of the people thought all the entourages of the eaters in Wing Bowl were strippers. Did some strippers get involved with some of these entourages? Yeah. But most of them were made up of family, coming out with the eater, in some wagon train thing or whatever. My daughter, Ava, and her friends used to sign up to bolster entourages. Maybe people had small ones, so they would add some people to it. And I had no problem with her doing this. It was a wonderful event. And the fact that Heavy Kevy got a salute, in all the newspapers today and all the onlines, and it got the amount of responses that I did, I think says a lot about Philadelphia. Philadelphia loves a party. They really do. I don't know. Look, I know Al Morgani supposedly thought of the idea first, but it was Angelo's baby. I mean, without him, who knows if it ever would have gotten to the point of this. 16,000 people at 7 a.m. in the morning. loading up the Spectrum, loading up Wells Fargo. I've been to the Spectrum, Wells Fargo, a million times, but not at 7 a.m. in the morning. To stand there, and I used to kick it off at the chicken thing, to stand there and look at 15,000, 16,000 people at 7 a.m. in the morning was like an out-of-body experience. Like, you kept looking at your watch to double-check that it was the time that it was, because it looked like a Sixer game. And the town, look, I just said Al started it, Enzo made it what it was, but without you, without Philadelphians going, yeah, I want to be part of this insane party, then it wouldn't have worked. And it is the single greatest radio promotion in the history of radio promotions. It really was. And I'll miss you, Heavy Kevy. He always came on my pre-Wing Bowl show, and a super duper guy. Heavy Kevy. Love you, buddy. All right, here we go. One last St. Patrick Day salute to redheads. I posted this one. All right. I just told you how many mentions Heavy Kevy did. I posted, who's the most beautiful redhead woman of all time? 700 comments. All right. Guys love talking babes. Give them an opportunity and they will. First of all, in case you did not notice, 2% of the world is redhead. 2. I didn't know that. If I had to guess, I would have went with 15. I wouldn't have went as low as 2. 2%. Now we all know who's the most beautiful redhead of all time, and she's still got some years to go. That would be one Ava Graham. Okay, love you, Ava. But here were some of the redheads that got mentioned. Julianne Moore, great actress. I'm a big fan of her. Do I look at her as beautiful? Yeah, I guess she is. Sexy sometimes. Doesn't do a whole lot for me, but as an actress, I think she's fantastic, really. Nicole Kidman, never cared for her either. Emma Stone, Ariel, right? Who's she, the Little Mermaid? Yeah, all right. Ava's only watched that 8,000 times. Jessica Rabbit got a slew of votes, which is, I'm just hoping, well, I don't even want to paint that picture. All right, now I'm going to give you a moment to decide who were the 2 redheads that got the most votes. All right? I'll give you a hint. One has passed. One is still with us. Long in the tooth, but still with us. I'll give you a couple seconds. Don't forget the Colonial Show, June 20th, up in Phoenixville. What else? Thanks to the Crest Tavern for sponsoring this program, and Armin Cadillac, and my dentist, Dr. Greg. And are you ready? Are you ready? Coming in at number 2, I was really surprised by this, that many people even remember her. Maureen O'Hara. And I guess the reason why she got these votes is because she's the star of The Quiet Man with John Wayne. And The Quiet Man, thanks to Turner Classic Network, you can count on it being aired every St. Patrick's Day and on regular television as well. It's a great, great movie. She was a terrific actress. Not the first time. You want to really see how beautiful she is? She's in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. In fact, I think that might even be her first movie. It's black and white, and it's like, wow, she's even stunning in that. She was just gorgeous, all right? Maureen O'Hara, I was really surprised. I came in at number 2. And I guess I should be every bit as much surprised by number 1 because it's not like somebody you're seeing a lot of these days. In fact, let me just see exactly how old Anne Margaret is. That's who got the most votes. It wasn't even close. I'm serious. It wasn't even close how many votes Anne Margaret got. And guess what? No argument from me. None whatsoever. Uh, See, you can probably, in fact, I know you can. YouTube Anne Margaret Carnal Knowledge, which is a movie she made with Jack Nicholson. Smoking in that. And she's like a grown woman in it. She's not like the sexy, like teenager, like from Bye Bye Birdie or something like that. Anne Margaret. Where the heck are you, Anne Margaret? What did I do wrong? There we go, Anne Margaret. Oh my God, she's even beautiful. Born in 41. 80? 79, huh? Damn. What a cool. Oh God. Just looking at these photos here. Give me a minute, folks. I loved Anne Margaret. All right, so that's our salute to redheads this week. Where are we going to next? Oh, this is a weird one. See My Back. Now, you would have no idea what that's about, but I acquire hoodies a lot. I've spent my entire life in the nightclub business. Nightclubs, bars, restaurants. And the owners of these places are always throwing me shirts and hoodies and whatnot because they want you to wear them. You're on the air, you work for WIP or Action News or wherever you might work with. They throw them at you, really. And particularly with T-shirts. I wouldn't even take a T-shirt anymore. I go, no, really, save it. Save it. I can't. I have so many T-shirts. But I ended up with a whole bunch of hoodies. Well, I did a favor for a guy in Sea City, up in the promenade there. He's got, a store that sells T-shirts and sandals and all that kind of seashore stuff. He's not even there anymore. The store is. I think they sold it. But I got to know the guy a little bit, and I did him a favor getting him tickets for something. So he said, hey, anytime you want to press some letters on anything, like when am I going to have the opportunity to press letters on the back of anything? But guess what? I brought up my Ocean Drive hoodie, and I had him put J.D. Salinger on the back. J.D. Salinger, my favorite writer of all time, writer of Catcher in the Rye, known recluse that hated the world, blah, 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 this, that. So now I got J.D. Salinger in the back of this hoodie. It's like one of these quirky things I'm known for. I didn't even give it any thought. I had no idea it was going to cause the stir that it did. Because everybody knows the name, pretty much required reading in high school, collegiate levels and whatnot. Everywhere I went and see how people go, did J.D. Salinger play for somebody? Because when you see a name on the back of something, it's usually what it implies. And then, no, what's his name doing on the back of your hoodie? And I would go, I didn't realize it was. Whatever, right? It caused such a stir that I started putting names on the back of all my hoodies. Goldfinger, Wally Canaan, the Weatherman, just different childhood things I put on there. Emma Peel, who was the star of the Avengers. Like, really, some of it meant sometimes people would see and go, "Who's Emmett Peel?" But particularly down at WIP, it caused a little bit of stir. Well, I've acquired some new hoodies. Like I told you, the guy who was doing his lettering for me has moved on. You know, what else I got to do? I'm in the wheelchair or in bed. That's my life. So you think a lot. So I started thinking, what names do I want on my new hoodies? When it dawned on me that nobody's ever going to see the back of me again. I'm in a wheelchair. They can't see my back. So I'm going to have to put stuff on the front, but often the front is divided by a zipper. It would have to be much smaller. You have so much more room in the back, but I'm still getting used to the fact that I'm paralyzed and that, that's an odd thought. Who thinks about nobody ever seeing your back again, right? You wouldn't even think that way, I haven't had money in my hands since July 21st. I haven't been in a car since July 18th. Just weird things. But meanwhile, since nobody's going to see my back again, I've been giving this some thought because I've been like really picking at my nails like I've never done in my entire life. I don't know why, but I just am. So my wife said to me, we should get them manicured. Right? Is that what you call it? With your nails done. And I do know some men, not many, who have had this done. So I said to my wife, really? I mean, what? She goes, yeah, it might stop this picking at it you do. And so I thought, all right, well, if I'm going to get my nails done, why don't I dye my hair like bleach blonde or red, in honor of my daughter? Why not? I don't have the opportunity as much as I used to make a stand in this world. Some people are watching this podcast, but I don't know. What do you think, Dave? Like real blonde hair, like bleach blonde, like surfer blonde hair? Why not? I'm already got the wheelchair working for me. So what difference does it make? All right. Today was the day that Elvis Presley bought, Graceland. Now, I guess you got to be pretty young not to even be aware what Graceland is. But I will argue with you that other than the White House, who's not really owned by the presidents, they just kind of stick them in there for 4 years. And if they win again, they stay another 4. By the way, I'm the man who, long time ago, we were interviewing Ed Rendell at another station I was on. And Ed Rendell just spent the night, him and his wife had just spent the night at the White House because he was a big cheese with the Democratic Party and knew Clinton and got invited in the White House. And I thought it was an obvious question. And I said to Ed Rendell on here, I said, well, did you get lucky in this bed? Right? And like the other people at the station were like horrified for a brief moment, but Ed Rendell thought it was hilarious. Said, no, nothing like that happened. It's like the Lincoln bedroom. I don't know what it's called. But anyway, Graceland. If you're ever in Memphis, please go to Graceland. I went to Memphis about 5 years ago. Really cool city, by the way. You got to love music. I guess if you don't love music, it's like an okay town. But if you love music like I do, it's unbelievable. And I thought Graceland be really hokey. I guess parts of it is. But it was really moving. I was so glad I went. I mean, we're talking about one of the greatest singers who ever walked the planet Earth. One of them. I would never say one guy is this, that, but he's certainly one of them. And he, take away his voice, which you can't. He starts the whole damn thing. It's like when the Beatles appear in Ed Sullivan, all these 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds who end up being, you know, Phil Collins or Billy Joel or whoever, when they see the Beatles and Ed Sullivan, they go, oh man, I want to do that. Well, it all started with Elvis on Ed Sullivan. The Beatles see Elvis on Ed Sullivan. John Lennon said it was an earth-shattering moment for him. That's what I want to do, what Elvis Presley's doing. So you go to his home. It's. I'm telling you, you gotta get to Graceland. Even if you're a mild Elvis Presley fan, I don't care. If you're anywhere near the area on business or something, take the time, rent a car, do what you got to do, and get over to Graceland. And if you're going to do that, email me. A lot of people do this. Big Daddy 295 AOL. Big Daddy 295 AOL. And I will tell you other things to do in Memphis as well. Really cool things. So I started thinking about other famous houses. I mentioned the White House already. Gracie Mansion up in New York. I've seen that from the outside. The most spectacular house I was ever at. I think I've already talked about it on this show. Was John Munyon's house. It was like a castle. I mean, really, like a castle. He has since sold it, but I'm not kidding. It was just the most amazing house. And there were about 100 people there. I was there because I had raised a certain amount of money for Alzheimer's, and that's why I got invited to it. And so I guess there were about 100 people on the grounds, maybe. And that's all anybody was doing. Can you believe this house? Like whispering in each other's ears. Have you ever been to a house like this? When you pulled up, it was like something out of a movie. It was just amazing. But I'm going to give you another chance. Maybe to win a hat. You're in the running for a hat. If Joe Conklin's listening. What do you think if I said to you, after the White House, after Graceland, what's the most famous house in this country? I'll give you a minute to think about that. La-di-da-di-dee. The Playboy Mansion. I'm sorry. It is such a famous house, and it really was a house. Hugh Hefner lived there. He really lived at this house. And when I was a kid, and those first couple pages of Playboy magazine would show you people like hanging in the house, playing pinball, dancing by the pool, swimming topless in the pool. It was like, oh my God, this is, meanwhile, my fat old man sitting in his boxers drinking Schmitz at the kitchen table. And I'm longing to go to, the Playboy Mansion. Well, get ready for this. I'm in LA with my wife and 2 daughters. When I get a phone call from a man by the name of Larry Platt, who at time a great writer, who at times in his life has also been the editor of the Philadelphia Daily News, the editor of Philadelphia Magazine. He's out there doing an article on who was the total washed out surfer friend of OJ's who's on the ground that night. I can't remember his name. Oh, that's a disgrace. Dave, come on, get on your thing there and yelling out when you get the name. Cato Kalin. Okay, he's interviewing Kalin, but he's going to have to interview him at this party at the Playboy Mansion. And he even says to Larry, he goes, would that be a big drag to you? And Platt's going, no, I'll interview you at the Playboy Mansion during the party. Next you know, my phone rings because Larry knows I happen to be out in L.A. at the same time because we were going to meet up in a couple of days. He calls me, goes, how you like to go to the Playboy Mansion? I know, you kidding me? So I hang up. I'm like an idiot. I go to my wife, guess where I might be going tonight? I'm out there with her and the kids. Guess where I might be going tonight? She goes, where? I go, the Playboy Mansion. I think again. Now, I don't think my wife would have stopped me, but about 2 hours later, Larry called and said, nah, it's not happening. But for a brief moment, I thought I was actually going to the Playboy Mansion. Now, come on. That's a house, is it? That is a house. All right. I said I would save it for last. The coronavirus. It's, wow. I don't want to say it. Last week, I poo-pooed it because I didn't. I just didn't know what was going on. In fact, most people, didn't know what's going on. I watched a half hour on it when I woke up today, and I couldn't take watching it anymore. I just couldn't watch it. It's so scary. This is uncharted waters. I mean, I'm talking to you in case you're listening nationwide. Philadelphia is a huge St. Patrick's Day place, and there was no St. Patrick's Day this year because all the bars and restaurants are closed. Since I've been cooped up inside this house since July, I can't quite grasp how different it is outside. Like I said, not only have I not driven a car since July, I haven't even been in one, but thank God I have lots of visitors, and everybody that's coming over here today is saying the same thing. There's nobody on the road. You can get from point A to point B like so quick, but the deaths are starting to pile up a little bit. And people with it. It's I don't know what to say, man. I guess except do what you're told. It's really hard on someone like me who's got a platform a little bit to speak out on issues. It's really hard for me to say, don't leave the house unless you absolutely have to. That's so much like against my religion. I've grown up in a world, I've made my living off people leaving their house, getting showered, putting on clothes, getting in the car, and driving to the club that I'm appearing at, buying a ticket in hopes that I'm going to make them laugh for an hour. I've made my living that way since 1980. Since 1980, so it's against every fiber of my body to say, right now, you got to go along with what they're telling you. You do. And you know what? I think the American public is responding pretty well. I really do. I was expecting way more of people going, oh man, they're overblowing this, like they overblow everything, right? People are used to the news sometimes doing that. But I'm not hearing that. People are cooperating. And so am I. And I'm in a different situation because I'm not going out as much anyway. But I guess, too, they really figure this thing out. The most you can do is do what you're told. But I am going to get nervous that how long can this go on without completely destroying our economy? I mean, like destroying it. I talked to a bar owner today. I talked to him. And he said, you know how big Mrs. St. Patrick's Day is? It's huge. It's like no holiday season for malls. That one day, St. Patrick's Day is just that big of a day that he predicted that even if they opened up all the bars and restaurants a week from today, he says 5-10% of the ma-pa bars, they're really going to be behind the eight ball and really struggle to survive. Just missing the business they've missed already. Now, that's not counting big chain bars, where there's many little places. And boy, I hope he's wrong. I doubt if he is. And I'll tell you what, this really sounds petty. It really does. But I can't believe how much I'm missing having no games to watch. Not only are there no games to watch, but it affects the way you go about your day. When somebody will go, big game tonight, maybe for whatever reason it slipped and fell through the crack. Yeah? Yeah, Celtics Sixers tonight at 8. It's like part of the fabric of living, particularly for guys. Having no game to look forward to, then worse, having no game to watch. Petty, petty, petty. I get it all. That's why I'm saying it's petty. But here I work at a sports station. You'd think I would know more than anybody. But it's just, I'm cooped up inside the house, and I've been watching more games than I've ever watched in my life. I'm even watching hockey. So I'm just watching sports and petty. They have to get this thing under control, and I keep forgetting it too. I do. I keep forgetting it. My wife has had to work so hard to keep me afloat. I said to her today, I said, why don't you just call a friend, call your sister, whatever, go grab a room up New York for 2 or 3 nights. I got people that'll take care of me. My wife went, and do what? Everything's closed. There's no bars, restaurants open. There's no Broadway theaters. And I keep forgetting this. I hope they find a cure for this as soon as they can. Stay well. Kind of do what they tell you to do. I'm doing this show from my house. So I'll be back on next Wednesday at 8. You know how to get it in your car and all that stuff. I'll be promoting it throughout the week. And thanks to Dave for hanging out with the show tonight. Thanks to Wildfire Radio. Thanks to the Crest Tavern. Thanks to even Bill, who got this show up and running to begin with. And everybody stay safe. And I will talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.